Hey, everybody, this is Emily House. How are you all?
Good.
Good
Hi,
to hear your
Emily.
voice, Emily.
Hi, Emily.
All right. Chairman Nignajad, are you on?
I'm here.
All right. Let's wait just 1 or 2 more minutes in case we're having anybody else join us, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
All right. Chairman Nignajad, we are good on the TSAC office side if you want to kick the meeting off.
Awesome. Well, great to hear everybody's voice today. It's hard to believe it's been almost 7 months since our last meeting. It's been very encouraging and challenging 7 months, but appreciate the partnership and support that everybody in this group has provided. Just a few items to point out at the beginning of this meeting. As your name is called on the roll, please indicate whether you are alone or if someone else is participating with you at your location. During the meeting, if you would like to make a motion or second a motion, please identify yourself for the record when making that motion. And of course, please try to keep your phone on mute until you need to speak. Under the Executive Order suspension of the physical presence requirement of the Open Meetings Act, we are required to establish necessity for virtual or telephone participation. Peter Abernathy will read the statement of necessity if we have a motion to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Claude Presnell, and I would make a motion that the meeting be electronically necessary to protect the health, safety, and the welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, and that Mr. Abernathy's comments that he's about to make would be included in the minutes.
This is Linda Martin.
Great.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Peter, if you'll read the statement of necessity.
Sure. Thank you. In Executive Order number 16, extended by Executive Orders 34, 51, 60, 65, and 71, Governor Bill Lee suspended Tennessee's open meeting laws as necessary to allow a governing body to meet by electronic means and conduct essential business under certain conditions if the governing body determines meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Executive Order 71 extended the provisions of Executive Order 16 through February 27, 2021, and those conditions are as follows: live access to the meeting by the public if possible, no adjustment to existing quorum, meeting notice, or voting requirements, clear notice to the public of the meeting agenda and how to access the meeting in a manner reasonably accessible to members of the public. Each part of the meeting subject to the Open Meetings Act must be audible to the public. Each member participating electronically must be able to simultaneously hear each other and speak to each other during the meeting. Any member participating electronically shall identify the persons present at the location from which the member is participating. Each member participating electronically must be provided before the meeting with any documents that will be discussed at the meeting with substantially the same content as those documents actually presented. All votes taken during the meeting shall be by roll call vote, and electronic participation allows a member to vote but does not make a member eligible for a per diem. The staff of the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation has ensured that each of the required conditions have been met. For purposes of this TSAC Board of Directors meeting, we are using a global conference that accommodates 300 participants with a listen-only code for members of the public and a guest code for board directors and for TSAC staff who have items on today's agenda. The guest code allows users to hear all participants and make comments when necessary. Notice of the meeting Agenda materials, call-in number, and applicable codes were posted to the TSAC website and emailed to members of the board last week. All votes will be by roll call, and there have been no changes to existing quorum, meeting notice, or voting requirements. Each member has introduced themselves and listed all persons at their respective location. Lastly, members will be considered present for voting purposes, but not for purposes of the per diem. All conditions listed in Executive Order 16 have been met. The only remaining item needed to ensure compliance with the Open Meetings Act and Executive Order number 16 is for the board to determine that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. And that concludes my remarks, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Claude Presnell. I renew my motion.
Thank you. And
Linda
we have
Martin,
a second. Great. Because we are virtual, we will be taking a roll call vote. So if we can please take the roll.
Chairman Nick-Najad,
Aye.
Claude Presnell,
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors,
Aye.
Comptroller Mumpower,
Aye, and this is Lauren Spire serving as Comptroller Designee.
thank you. Greg Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Schwinn, Chancellor Tidings,
Present.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Cyrus Vandenduce, Danette Seal, and Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes.
That's great. The ayes have it. Moving on next, we will have adoption of the previous agenda. Members, you would have received in the electronic packet last week, included in that the TSAC minutes from May 19th, 2020. Do we have a motion and a second for adoption of those minutes?
Hey, Chairman Nick-Najad, this is Emily House. Apologies for interrupting. We actually need to go back and take the roll call for attendance, and so participants can state whether they are on their own.
Oh, I apologize for that. Yeah, so moving a little too quick. So we'll take the roll before moving on to adoption and approval.
Okay, Chairman Nick-Najad,
Present.
Claude Presnell,
Present and alone.
Ashley Neighbors,
Present and participating alone.
Lauren Spires,
Present, and I am alone.
Greg Turner,
Present and participating alone.
Commissioner Schwinn,
Present and participating alone.
Chancellor Tidings,
Present and alone.
Dr. Martin,
Present and alone.
Cyrus Vandenduce, Danette Seal, and Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Present and alone.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes, or 8 people present, so you have a quorum. I'm sorry, that's 9.
Chairman Nick-Najad, you may be muted if you're speaking. Chairman Nick-Najad, are you still with us?
Sorry, apologies for that. Got phone call was dropped. So backing up on the agenda, I see we have the adoption of the agenda that we will need to adopt by roll call here. Similar to my comments just now on the minutes, we have, you should have received the agenda in your digital packet. So Do we have a motion and a second for adopting today's agenda?
So moved, Linda Martin.
I would second that. This is Sharon Hayes.
Great. If we could please take the roll.
Chairman Nignajad,
Aye.
Claude Presnell,
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors,
Aye.
Lauren Spires,
Aye.
Greg Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Schwinn,
Aye.
Chancellor Tidings,
Aye.
Dr. Linda Martin,
Aye.
Cyrus Vandendues, Danette Steele, Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Great. So adopted. We have also on the agenda approval of the minutes from the May 19th, 2020 board meeting. Do I have a motion and a second on adoption of the previous meeting's minutes?
Chairman Nignajad, I do have just one note for that. This is Greg Turner. On the minutes, I am identified as, I guess, representing Commissioner McWhorter. I think at that point, Commissioner Ely had actually been appointed. So that's just something to note. I don't know if we need to officially change that or not.
I think we can adopt that as an amendment to the minutes. I'll defer to Peter's judgment on whether or not we require a vote to do that. Or can we roll that into the adoption?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We'll just roll that amendment into the adoption of the minutes.
So do I have a motion and a second for adopting the minutes with the amendment that Commissioner Ely is identified as the F&A Commissioner?
Yeah, Claude Presnell recommend receiving the minutes as amended.
Commissioner Schwinn, second.
Thank you. With that, we have a motion and a second for the adoption of the minutes as amended. If we could please take the roll.
Chairman Nignajad,
Aye.
Claude Presnell,
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors,
Aye.
Lauren Spires,
Aye.
Greg Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Schwinn,
Aye.
Chancellor Tidings,
Aye.
Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Cyrus Vandendues, Danette Steele, and Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Great. So the minutes are so adopted. Moving on the agenda, I'll make a few brief remarks before handing it over to Director House. As just a chairman's note and a point of comment here, I'd like to just thank everybody for all the work that has been accomplished over the last 7 months. In our last meeting in May, we were still very much in the early stages of responding to the pandemic and working with our higher education institutions, public and non-public, to develop and communicate the best next steps. I think we have been very pleased and encouraged to see the unity demonstrated and the cooperation demonstrated by our partners in the higher education community as we have moved towards a safer and in some ways modified but largely encouraging reopening for last fall and this spring. So I think we still have a long ways to go, and the next phase, which we are very much currently in, is to get the public in a position to feel safer and more encouraged in those day-to-day activities. So we also have within our focus as part of this recovery, a couple of items related to improving access to higher education. One of those items will be part of the decision items on the agenda today. But I'll pause now and turn it over to Director House for her comments.
Thanks, Chairman Nicknajad. Hi, everybody. So good to hear everybody's voice. Look forward to the day that we can have this meeting in person again. To echo Chairman Nicknajad's remarks, thank you all around to the system representatives on the phone, our legislative partners, state agency partners on the phone. It really has been a year like no other, and I think the more we continue to keep students at the center of all of our decision making, the better. And commendation and kudos for all of the flexibility, all of the malleability that everyone has shown over this year that has just been completely crazy and a completely different experience than anybody has had before. So I will be very brief. I want to talk about two things just quickly, and I'm happy to provide any additional information offline, answer any questions online or offline. The first is just to briefly speak to the distribution of aid program by program, just at a very, very high level. When we think about our HOPE scholarship program, the GAM supplement, the Aspire supplement, as well as HOPE itself, that has been pretty consistent from fall of 19 to fall 20. Even though enrollment has bounced around a bit across the board, distribution of these dollars has remained pretty consistent, about 74,000 students, about $150 million. So not a lot of bounce there. The same is true of Tennessee Promise. The number of students enrolled has been relatively consistent, and the price per the scholarship per student, the grant per student has been pretty comparable as well. Something that is interesting about the Promise population is the increased renewal rate this year. It may be that students did not want to enter the workforce during a recession. Maybe the general COVID environment impacted their decision making, but we've seen more Promise students persist than we have in the past, more second-year Promise students enrolled than in past years, which is great. The program that's taken the biggest hit and experienced the biggest decline is probably not a surprise, but that would be Tennessee Reconnect. We've seen about a 25% reduction between fall 19 and fall 20. And I know Chancellor Tidings and her team know this intimately. This is really because of the reasons that one might expect, that adults have very different home situations than they may have had a year ago. They may have children at home doing at-home learning. They may have employment constraints related to their own job security, perceptions thereof, as well as there may be some hesitancy to engage in online learning. There may be some fear there or some hesitancy there for adults who may feel less familiar with an online platform for learning. So the outreach staff here at TSAC and at THEX continue to do a lot, as well as the adult learner team, to encourage these adults to return. We've partnered with the Department of Labor to encourage those who are applying for unemployment benefits to engage with higher ed as well for training, initial training or retraining, thinking about local workforce demand. So we're trying to meet these adults where they are. I know Chancellor Tidings and her team are as well, to engage them with higher ed once their lives feel a little bit more settled in many cases. So much more data program by program and school by school and whatever else to present to the group offline if desired. Happy to do that follow-up. Other thing I wanted to mention just briefly before we get into the action items are the changes made to rule and policy since the beginning of the COVID pandemic about a year ago. Pursuant to Public Chapter 632, which was passed by the General Assembly in March of 2020, it's hard to believe it's been a full year just about. The executive director, so formerly Mike Krause and now me, has the authority to change rule, policy, or statute as it relates to financial aid, state financial aid. We have not changed any statute, to be clear, but the changes made to rule and policy have really been keeping students at the center to increase access to financial aid, as well as students' ability to keep their financial aid once they receive it. So examples of these changes have been changing the community service deadlines for Tennessee Promise, waiving the community service requirements for Tennessee Promise, changing the FAFSA deadline for Tennessee Promise eligibility, as well as thinking about change of status, change of enrollment intensity, status requirements for HOPE, and things like that. Happy to provide an itemized list to Chairman Nick Najad or to anybody else who's interested of all of these actions that have been taken. I think I have taken 2. My predecessor took the rest. Happy to send that around to the group if helpful. All of that to say that all changes and all modifications made in that regard are to keep students enrolled, keep them persisting, and move them to graduation such that they can enter the workforce and contribute to their communities, to their families, and everything else. With that, Mr. Chair, that concludes my remarks. Happy to take any questions, or we can just move right into the decision items.
Great. Thank you, Director House, and appreciate you keeping us informed and apprised of those flexibilities. When passed, I think the intent was to be able to respond quickly and, as you said, meet students where they are, understanding that some of these flexibilities were required to help effectuate the end intent of these programs, which is to improve access to higher education. And so I think it might be helpful, and it would be good for, I think, longevity's sake for us to record send a record of those for this group just for their awareness. And I think as we start to move back towards a more regular experience, we can start to have some continue to have hopefully have to rely on those flexibilities less and less. So with that, I think if there
I was just going to say
any other questions?
No, this is Emily. We will send that document that I was referring to out to the group that just catalogs the changes made since March of 20, and we can enter that into the minutes of this meeting, as well as just send that to the members for their reference.
Thanks, that'd be great. I think it'll be something that years from now will be great to look back on and evaluate. So with that, if there are no other questions for the Executive Director, I will move on to the decision items. Both of these items will be subject to approval by roll call vote. The first of these items is the adoption of high-need dual enrollment courses and programs. I'll turn it over to Peter Abernathy, who can walk us through that decision item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you members of the board, as you may remember from our last board meeting, Public Chapter 203 from 2019 created the Governor's Initiative in Vocational Education Act, or the GIVE Act, which provides high school students with up to 4 free dual enrollment courses in high-need programs. As a reminder, THEC staff worked very closely with staff from the Department of Labor as well as the Department of Economic and Community Development in designing a consistent and objective process of identifying high-need occupations that can then be linked to the high-need programs, and then as well as the individual courses within those programs that lead to the high-need occupations. Mr. Russell Van Zomeren of the THEC Bureau of Policy and Planning Research has been really a very integral part of creating that process of analyzing all of the high-need programs across the state. And so I'm going to turn the time over to him for an explanation of the process and the decisions that went into the list of eligible programs for the 2021-22 academic year that you have before you. Mr. Van Zomeren.
All right, awesome. Good afternoon, members of the board. Thank you for having me here today. Glad to be able to join and talk about the recommended programs for the GIVE Dual Enrollment Grant for 2021-22. So more or less the same process that we had last year. There are a few updates, and I'll note those in my presentation. Do a quick walk through the process, then I'll get to programs and a few notes that I think you might want to consider. As with last year, we started by identifying in-demand occupations, as we're directed to in the GIVE Act. So the GIVE Act specifically asked us to look at ECD's LEAP report, as well as our joint report with the Department of Labor, our academic supply and occupational demand. The biggest update I have for you there is that we've been working in partnership with those two agencies over the last year to bring a new method to identifying these occupations so that all three of us are identifying the same occupations each year. Ultimately, what this means is from a data perspective, these reports are now the same. We're identifying the same occupations. For an occupation to be in demand, it has to meet 5 criteria. There's wage, size, openings, postings, and hires. This year, we identified 227 unique occupations that were in demand in at least one region. For us, looking at what sorts of occupations might be GIVE eligible, we were thinking that programs that are GIVE eligible anywhere are GIVE eligible everywhere. And so we wanted programs that were broadly reflective of the market demand. That meant that we were looking at occupations that were in demand in at least 5 of our 9 local workforce development areas. That is over half the state. When we limited it to this criteria, we found 54 occupations that we identified as being GIVE eligible in this way. We used this list to then match to the federal TSAC crosswalk, which is a tool that helps us identify academic programs, that would prepare students for in-demand occupations. Once we had these programs, we worked to find TBR academic programs that were offered that were also on our list. We worked closely with TBR to audit this list, make sure that all the information that we gathered were up to date and accurate. And I'd like to thank them personally for their partnership here. They've been wonderful to work with. We also ran this list by our internal departments of academic affairs and workforce development, also just to make sure that everything looked good to them. This year, we are recommending 32 programs at the 4-digit level. You have these on the document that was emailed out last week and is available online. This is twice as many programs as we had recommended last year. And we're really excited about that. We think it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for students. It's also important to note that associate's degrees are included this year, a byproduct of the FAST Act that we ran last year. And finally, I just want to highlight 2 new programs that we're particularly excited about. Those include mechatronics at both the TCAS and community colleges, as well as welding, which I know we're really excited to have this year. We think that this list, if accepted, will account for some $8,000 or 8,000 estimated GIVE courses. It's not necessarily a direct one-for-one with students, but a similar number of students. This also is twice as many as last year. We think that we are able to have some better communication this year with our students, with members at TDOE and all of our high schools across the state by getting this list out several months earlier. Again, TBR has been wonderful to work with. Our college success team has a large rollout plan for GIVE. So we're thinking take-up is going to be much higher this year, and we're excited about that. The estimated total cost, we think, for these programs will be somewhere between $2.7 and $3.5 million. With that, we recommend this list for approval, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Not a question, but just an appreciation, I think, of taking a broader approach for including applying these standards across the board or the recommended programs across the state. I think early on, I know we've had discussions and have evaluated strategies about a more regional focused approach, but I think the trade-offs there of making something eligible in one grand division but not another, it could lead to additional confusion or frustration at the local level. So I think this is the right approach here. I appreciate the work that's gone into this and the evaluation of our economic data to help us really more effectively target these funds. At the time that this program was developed and launched, it was intended to be a targeted, impacted focus on those high-need, high-demand professions, and I think that's what this list really reflects here. So if there are no other questions, I open the floor to those questions or a motion and a second for approval of these professions. Do we have a motion?
This is Sharon Hayes. I will make the motion to approve the programs as listed.
can you say your name one more time for the record?
Sharon Hay.
Okay, we have a motion from Sharon Hayes. Do we have a second?
Flora Tiding, second.
Great, thank you. If we could please take the roll.
Chairman Nignajad.
Aye.
Claude Presnell.
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors.
Aye.
Lauren Spires.
Aye.
Greg Turner.
Aye.
Chancellor Tidings.
A very enthusiastic aye.
Commissioner Schwinn.
Aye.
Dr. Linda Martin.
Aye.
Cyrus Vandenduze. Jeanette Seal. And Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Great. The high need enrollment courses and programs for this upcoming school year is adopted. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, the adoption of rules for the Tennessee Education Lottery Scholarship. Tim, can you present on that, please?
Yes, sure can. Thank you, Chairman Nignajad, Dr. House, members of the board. Good afternoon to everyone. You should have the TELS rules and a summary of changes in front of you or been sent to you last week. I'll briefly summarize those and then happy to answer any questions. The section .01, the significant change that we have there is that we've added an eligible program of study definition. This was necessitated with the passage of the FAST Act. And really that means for purposes of the lottery scholarship programs, we will pay students for the enrolled hours within their major. Courses taken outside their major would not be considered when making payment to the institutions on behalf of the students. Section .02 deletes duplicate language and clarifies the payment of awards for those full-time and part-time students will be for the hours within that eligible program of study. Moving on, section .03 deletes the dual enrollment grant deadlines and really gives TSAC the authority to determine those application deadlines on an annual basis, and we would publish those as well. Also importantly, it gives the executive director the authority to suspend, waive, or modify the deadline due to any extraordinary causes. Obviously, we've been facing COVID, inclement weather, so many reasons that could happen, but just gives Dr. House the authority to do that at this point. Section .08 aligns the rule with the FAST Act and eliminates the Hope Access Grant. I think it's important to remember that there will be no students that are negatively impacted with this change. All students that are in the pipeline will advance through the program and they'll receive the awards they qualify for. Just to familiarize everyone that may not be too familiar with the Hope Access Grant, but it's essentially a one-year program where students are given an opportunity to qualify for the Hope Scholarship and work their way into the program. So, and then finally, section .11 clarifies that the GIVE dual enrollment courses must be within a certificate, diploma, or Associate of Applied Science program. And that concludes my summary. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Claude Presnell. The only thing I just wanted to say, I appreciate the changes that are being proposed here, and might mention to the board that the definition of program of study aligns this state program with the federal programs. So that's been the case with the federal student aid programs, and so I think this is a good move. But I appreciate the work that's gone into these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Claude. Any other questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the updates to the Tennessee Education Lottery Scholarship Rules?
Yeah, this is Claude Presnell. I move to accept the changes to the rules.
Do we have a second?
Lori Tiding, so moved. Second.
Excellent. Madam Secretary, if you could please take the roll.
Sure. Chairman Nicknajad,
Aye.
Claude Presnell,
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors,
Aye.
Lauren Spires,
Aye.
Greg Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Schwinn,
Aye.
Chancellor Tiding,
Aye.
Dr. Linda Martin,
Aye.
Cyrus Sandus, Jeanette Steele, and Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes.
Thank you. That concludes the business on the agenda. Do we have any other, I'll open the floor to members for any other items for discussion or comments that anyone would like to enter into the record. All right. Well, hearing none, I believe that concludes the business for today's agenda. We can, we'll require a roll call for this as well. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
Linda Martin, so moved.
Second.
This is Greg Turner, second.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. If you could please take the roll.
Chairman Nicknajad,
Aye.
Claude Presnell,
Aye.
Ashley Neighbors,
Aye.
Lauren Spires,
Aye.
Greg Turner,
Aye.
Commissioner Schwinn,
Aye.
Chancellor Tiding,
Aye.
Dr. Linda Martin,
Aye.
Cyrus Sandus, Ms. Jeanette Steele, and Ms. Sharon Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that's 9 ayes.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for your participation and cooperation today. Hope to see you all soon. And without any other objection, we will stand adjourned. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.